This all happened to my mother when I was just a baby. Before my mom married my dad, she had dated a man named Craig. At first he was sweet, but he slowly became abusive. My mom tried to leave him multiple times, but Craig always threatened her. After one violent argument, my mom waited and then fled in the middle of the night. Years had passed and she eventually got married and had me. My dad's work included a lot of traveling, so it was mostly just my mom and I alone in our big acreage home. My mom was in the kitchen making lasagna while I was sitting in my high chair. It was extremely hot that day, so she opened the kitchen door to let in some air. She heard heavy footsteps entering into the kitchen behind her. My excited mom assumed it was my dad, and she then turned around with a, "Hello, my love," and her excitement immediately turned to horror. There was Craig standing in the middle of our kitchen with a gun visibly tucked into his pants. Craig smiled at her and asked what she was making. My mom mustered enough courage and she told him it was lasagna. She was physically shaking as Craig sat himself down beside me. He playfully pinched my cheek and my baby self just laughed at him. My mom was holding back tears as she finally asked him what he was doing in the house. Craig then said that he just wanted to visit my mom and that he would leave when he was done eating. When the lasagna was ready, she had to serve him some. My mom took me and then sat across from Craig so she could keep an eye on him. Craig said he still had her things at his house and she was welcome anytime to come get them. My mom said she didn't need any of it though, and he could throw it out. Craig started to get agitated, and he said that she threw him away like the garbage too. Craig said she was acting tough, but that he knew deep down inside she was still the stupid girl he dated. Craig claimed that my mom needed him in her life, and that she couldn't function if he wasn't there to help her. He said he needed to be there to raise me because my dad was a loser who would never be able to protect my mom or I. Craig said if he was crazy, he could have easily kidnapped us or done things to my mom because my dad was a pussy who couldn't protect what was his. My mom started to cry and she told Craig to leave the house. Craig said that it wasn't her house and that he had every right to be there. My mom then said if he didn't leave, she would call the police, which really made him angry. Craig then threatened if the cops got involved, he would hire men to cut her up into pieces and film it. My mom started to cry even louder, and an agitated Craig threw his plate, and then he yelled at her to stop crying and that he loved her. My baby self got scared and started to cry too, which then caused Craig to stand up and approach my mom. She jumped out of her chair with me cradled in her arms, and she then begged for Craig to spare my life. Craig tried to reach over to touch my mom, but she got so scared that she fell to the floor sobbing. The phone began to ring, and Craig became so overwhelmed that he ran out of the house. The cops and his own family found him about to shoot himself in the head. His adult son had to convince him not to do it. My mom was just so traumatized that she didn't want to deal with any of it, so she got a restraining order against him. Her and my dad then moved across the country. I was curious, and I decided to search this guy up. And I was absolutely shocked to see that he was dating a college-aged girl who looked just like the woman he couldn't have. He really was fucking insane. So before I begin on this next story, I just wanted to mention that this isn't exactly a crazy ex story, but I still felt like it fit the general theme and topic of this video. Major trigger warning for sexual assault. I would like to remain anonymous, and I'm going to be changing his name to avoid him finding out that I shared this story. I will also send screenshots and photos to verify the story, but I don't want them shared publicly. The story is very long. I'll refer to him as John. I met this man when I was around 16, and I became friends with him. That is, until he became obsessed with me, and I stopped talking to him because he was scaring me. I've recently found out that he's been lying to me about how old he was back then, and that he at the time was 26 years old. and he had also lied about his name to avoid me being able to identify him to law enforcement, or so I'm assuming. So now I'm almost 30, and I hadn't heard from John in years. I went out for one of my friend's birthdays about a year ago, and she wanted to go to a club. I don't dance, so I was kind of just hanging out awkwardly on the balcony of the club and having a drink, and all of a sudden, I started feeling really out of it. I also want to mention that I'd only had one drink, and I fell down. I don't really remember very much after that, but I woke up in a random motel with blood all over my legs, and no one else was there. For a few days, I didn't know what happened, until John started sending text messages saying that he had a really good night with me, and he started saying that we were in a relationship now, and that he couldn't wait for the baby to get here. I then realized that my blood had come from my IUD being pulled out of me that night. I can only assume that he somehow got into my phone and got my phone number the night he assaulted me, because we hadn't spoken in years and I had a new number. John proceeded to message me every day on different phone numbers, and he would call me 50 plus times a day for months trying to figure out if I was pregnant. But because he never admitted to assaulting me, the police told me they couldn't arrest him without proof, and I still didn't know his real name at this time. One night though, my best friend came over to my house to spend the night, and then right after she left, a woman was kidnapped right in front of my house.